The threat of Islamism continues to spread across the world, and no, it's not just about the Western world. Yes, let's talk about Nigeria, and let's talk about what's happening to Christians in Nigeria. Now, this isn't the first time that on Tousi TV we've been reporting on what's going on to Christians in Nigeria, but the attack against them by the Islamists in the country is getting worse and worse every day. The Islamist Fulani militias today decided to target another group of Christians. Unfortunately, 20 Nigerian Christians have lost their lives. 14 women have been kidnapped from Kaduna state in Nigeria. More than 80% of Christians have now lost their lives in Nigeria just because of their religion. Now, unfortunately, we're getting used to seeing these sort of videos on a regular basis coming out of Nigeria, but the problem is the corporate media across the Western world, from CNN to BBC, are continuing to ignore these problems. Not just the media, the leftists, the liberals, those who care about international humanitarian issues are not organizing any mass protests anytime soon. I mean, it's quite obvious there's a hypocrisy. It's quite obvious that they don't actually care about humanitarian issues. It's simply about not actually being in favor or pro something. It's about being against something. It's easier to be against Christians. It's easier to be against the Jews. It's not easy, apparently, to be against the political ideology of Islam. But it's not just about the media or the political left. It's also about the United Nations. This is the Deputy Secretary General to the United Nations, Amina J. Mohammed. Now, why does she matter? Because she has a role at the United Nations. She's part of the bigger club. And a special thanks to one of our followers on X, the Kosher Cockney, a Jewish Jew and a bloke-ish bloke, actually exposed the problem with this woman. Yes, as the Kosher Cockney said, it turns out that the UN Deputy Secretary General, Amina Mohammed, is a Nigerian Brit Muslim. She's the second in command at the United Nations. The people targeting the Nigerian Christians are, of course, the Nigerian Muslims. Why do you think the United Nations have been quiet on this issue at the top of the United Nations? Because the Deputy Secretary General doesn't seem to be thinking this could be an urgent priority. When Jews or Christians are the victims of Islamic terrorism, the United Nations usually defend the other side. The Kosher Cockney also said that Amina Mohammed and her UN bodies are still doing what they can to point fingers of blame at the Jews and trying to delegitimize the only Jewish country while keeping silent and covering up her people when butchering Christians in Nigeria. Amina Mohammed must also be held to account for this. The UN must do something about the ongoing genocide of Christians in Africa by Muslim extremists. Amina will not do this, though, because it is people of her same group doing this. And if the corporate media are not willing to dig deep to find out information that we are reporting on this channel, if they are not willing to hold the UN to account or the rest of the actual international community, it's okay. We and the rest of the new media, independent media outlets, will continue to raise awareness. We will continue to put pressure on them until they do so.